In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make a no-sew glitter cheer bow. You need 3-inch ribbon like this, 1.5-inch ribbon like this, Fabri-Tac glue, which you could get at Joann or Michael's, but you could also just use Elmer's Glue All if you really wanted to. And this Tulip spray glitter paint. I got mine at Hobby Lobby in the shirt section near like the puff paint and stuff like that. You want to measure out 30 inches of your 3-inch ribbon. I find the best way to do this is to move the ribbon and not the ruler. When you cut this, don't worry about making the edges pretty. We'll get to that later. Now you'll take your glitter spray paint and just start spraying the ribbon. You'll notice that it leaves little marks like that. It's not a big deal. We're just going to go back with our finger and just kind of touch that up. It'll all be fine and it'll turn out cute in the end. Now you're going to lay your 1.5-inch ribbon at a diagonal and you're going to measure it against your 3-inch ribbon. The idea is that you don't want it to be straight across. It'll look cooler if you do it at an angle like this. Flip over your top ribbon and then you're going to want to spread the glue. I find if you do it in a wavy line once like this and then come back, you'll get most of the edges and it'll stick really well without getting too much glue everywhere. Now you're going to pick up the 1.5-inch ribbon, flip it over, and then just gently lay it on top of the 3-inch ribbon. You'll want to smooth it out so that there aren't any bumps, but not too much because you don't want glue squirting everywhere. And once you're finished with that, you're going to wait for this to dry. After it's dry, you're going to fold it in half, and then you're going to fold the ends together like this. This is how we're going to make the fishtail. You just cut right here, and you'll have your cool fishtails. To prevent the ends from fraying or getting all funky, you just want to take a lighter and gently run it across the ends of the ribbon. Take your ribbon and fold it in half. You want to make a really tight crease down the middle. You're going to use that crease as the guide for the middle of your bow. When you fold it over, you're going to want to line your edges up with that middle crease. Hold your bow together without sewing. We're going to use a zip tie. You can get these in the auto parts section of Walmart or at a hardware store. They're pretty much everywhere. Once you have your bow pretty well lined up, you're going to take it, grab it, squeeze it together, and then just do an accordion fold like this. It's back and forth and back and forth. The whole idea is that you're going to shape your bow so it kind of has a memory, and then you're going to put the zip tie around the middle like this. Squeeze your zip tie closed all the way. This is the part where we can move the loops of the bow around, shape things the way we want them, make sure our accordion fold is done right so that we can have the bow looking exactly how we want it. If your bow is totally perfect, you can take some pliers and pull the zip tie shut. You can do this with your hands, but if you're doing a ton of bows, it starts to hurt after a while. You can see here that the bow is pretty much made now. We just have to make the center loopy thing and then put the rubber band on the back of it. A lot of people have asked me why I don't put the rubber band inside the zip tie. I find that they rub against each other and then the rubber band tends to break. Instead, I just use hot glue and glue it to the back of the bow, just right there on top of the zip tie. When you take the rubber band and you stick it down there, it's going to be hot. So if your fingers aren't used to hot glue, you might want to use like a stick, a popsicle stick or something to hold it in place. You're going to want to hold it for a second or two so that the rubber band sits in the right place on the bow. Once that's finished, we're going to do the center knot. I just took a piece of ribbon and tied a little knot in it. I'm going to flip my bow over and I'm going to glue that to the very front. It's important if you do the knot that you glue that first because you want it to be perfectly in the center. If you do it like this, make sure you don't use too much glue because this is the very front of your bow and it can squish out on either side and look really crappy. Now you're going to flip the bow over and glue the back sides. I always glue the bottom side first and then the top part because when they overlap, I want the top part to look like it's coming over and it doesn't really matter what the bottom side looks like. Now you're going to want to hold that down for a second or two just to make sure it's stuck really good, and then you have your cheer bow.